Everybody, that's really annoying.
Can you hear me? Ah, I'm here. The element of surprise.
I
Sorry
was
about the
literally
headset.
about to hang up.
I know. I was like, I'll press all these buttons. That'll do it. That'll do it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm here.
Okay, that's good. That's
Hi.
good. Hurrah, hurrah. Oh my
Technology.
goodness. I was not expecting that to work, but oh my goodness, it's so good to see your face.
And yours too. Yeah, yeah. Sorry about the
Oh,
headset. I've tried to disconnect it. It's my work one, and I'm just like, oh no. Do you know what? I'm just going
that's
to leave it
okay.
on and look like
You
I'm on
look
a
a
call
bit, a
centre.
bit sort of Britney Spears-esque.
Oh, I wish. I wish.
Oh, it's so good to see you. And what I was just saying to everybody on here was that we haven't actually met, have we? But I've read about your story online, and um, it's so interesting because whenever you hear anybody talk about pancreatic cancer, it's the immediate head tilt, isn't it? It's that one that you take an intake of breath and it's like, oh
Mm-mm.
shit, that's it's kind of the one that people don't want to get, isn't it? And that's because quite often it's diagnosed quite late and it's quite difficult to detect.
Exactly.
So I
Exactly.
was wondering, Helen, if you could share your story. When was it that you started having symptoms, and what were they?
Well, I started getting kind of symptoms of, they're very vague, the symptoms of pancreatic cancer, which is why it's so hard for GPs initially to kind of detect and think, oh, and kind of ringing the alarm bell. So in April, I had quite bad acid reflux and also a pain under my right ribs, which was, it was really uncomfortable. And because I had this reflux, I was thinking, oh, maybe I've been eating too much cheese, maybe I've not been
Yeah.
eating, drinking too much wine. And so I cut all that back. I went to the doctor, and she said, oh, I think it's something like gallstones. I don't think it's anything sort of too sinister
Mm,
to worry about. Here's
mm,
some omeprazole, sort of anti-indigestion tablets. Off you go, and so on and so forth. So
mm.
that was the first kind of instance. And I didn't think too much of it then, because I'd had like last year in 2020, just before lockdown started, I had the similar sort of symptoms. So I thought, oh, okay, it's only that. But after a couple of weeks of taking omeprazole, the pain in my side under my ribs didn't go away.
Mm.
I carried on taking them, like a good patient. And then it was around my birthday, so at the beginning of June, the girls took me, and my two grown-up daughters took me out to a fabulous Michelin-star restaurant, and I just loved my food, and I just could not eat a thing.
Oh
I
no.
felt really
What,
bad. So,
because you felt full, or because of
mhm,
the acid sort of reflux that you had?
a bit of both,
Oh
really.
wow.
More or less, I felt full, and I hadn't
Mm.
realised until kind of around that point that I'd actually lost sort of some weight without trying to. But I took that weight loss to being with part of the, not eating cheese, not drinking wine. I thought, oh, it's that
Yeah.
because I've cut back on all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So after the kind of disastrous birthday meal, I mean, they were all troughing away, and I was sitting there thinking, oh God, I just can't face this. I just felt so
Oh no.
awful. I went back to the doctor, and they referred me for, I think it was a gastroscopy at the time. I thought, well, fair enough. And then I started developing really itchy hands and feet. So this is kind of the mid-June by then. So around the, sort of, I don't know, say the 15th of June-ish,
Yeah.
something like that. And I kept thinking, do I look yellow? I was looking in my mirror thinking, do I look yellow, or is it just my light in the bathroom at the time?
Yeah.
So again, I think what I was doing all the time was deflecting actually my symptoms
Yeah.
onto other reasons, which
Mm.
with hindsight, which is a marvelous thing,
Mm.
isn't it? I was thinking actually this wasn't a great thing, but I thought the itchiness of my hands and feet were because I've been walking my dogs in fields of cut grass, so
Right.
and wearing
Yeah. I
trainers.
mean, all these things you can make excuses for, can't you? You can find a reason
Yeah,
for it.
exactly. Yeah, and I was
Yeah.
expert at that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until my daughter had had a second baby that we all went over to see the new baby, and the girl said to me, Mum, you look really yellow. You do look yellow. So this was around the 20th of June, say. Uh, so I went to the doctor the next day, and he referred me straight away to the hospital, where I had a scan, a CT scan, and that's where they found the lump on my pancreas.
Right.
Yeah.
And they thought, what, so when they found that on your pancreas, did they know then that that's what it was?
No, they just said it. Well, no, they said we found a well-defined mass on your pancreas, on the head of your pancreas, which was blocking the bile duct, which is why I'd gone
We had
yellow and
the
had jaundice.
mm,
So these kind of symptoms of indigestion, feeling bloated, pain in the side, and which goes around your back, plus obviously jaundice
yeah.
and itchiness was the big flags really. So they asked me to go back the next day for a MRI scan, which shows a bit more than a CT scan.
Mm,
So I went back and had that scan, and then the Friday of that week, I was referred to the Oxford University Hospital.
mm,
They're a specialist cancer, and
yeah.
they kind of specialise in liver and pancreatic cancers and liver and pancreatic transplants and all that kind of stuff.
Mm,
So yeah, but I think the reason they kind of fast tracked me into seeing the consultant surgeon at Oxford because my elder brother had died and I wasn't of cancer and I wasn't sure at the time whether it was liver or pancreatic cancer. It
right.
was colon cancer as it turned out to, in the end. I found out
Yeah.
the other week,
Are
but
they linked or not? They're not linked, are they?
not directly because I think what happens is if a cancer starts in your pancreas, it can then metastasize. And sorry for the pronunciation or mispronunciation of that word, I can never get it right. It might then spread to the lymph nodes and then to your
Yeah.
liver and then other parts of your body, your lungs and what have you.
Yeah.
And that's partly why people, once they've had the diagnosis, why they tend to go downhill and die really, quickly, sadly,
Because
because
it's already spread.
yeah, it's already spread. So my symptoms, fortunately for me, having jaundice, although I didn't think it at the time, having jaundice and having the lump where it was blocking the bile duct actually saved my life because if it had been on the tail or in the body of the pancreas, it wouldn't have been found and
Yeah.
until it was far, far, far too late because most people, by the time they get the diagnosis, they die within quite often 3 months of the
Wow.
diagnosis. And the thing with pancreatic cancer as well, the Pancreatic Cancer UK charity are investing, in research because there is no early way of detecting pancreatic cancer, and this hasn't changed for sort of 40 odd years, and the death rate hasn't changed for 40 odd years.
I just think it's so archaic that it takes so many lives and but there just doesn't seem to be the statistics or the research, or it feels
Mm.
really unsupported.
I think it only gets something like a 3% of the UK cancer budget.
I wonder
Um,
why that is.
Well, I kind of was talking to some friends about this the other day, and they said, "Do you think this sounds cruel, but do you think it's because people die and you don't get to hear of many success stories because
Mm,
people die?"
maybe.
I mean, I don't know, but I kind of that's quite a good thought, really. Not a good thought, but a bad thought in a good way, sort of thing.
Mm,
If more people knew and understood about pancreatic cancer
mm,
and the symptoms, I mean, they are really vague. As I say, having indigestion, here's some omeprazole, off you go, or some Gaviscon,
yeah.
but linked to stomach and back pain, I don't know if it's a question of just not educated. Well, yeah, educating, I suppose,
It
maybe
is
GPs.
really. It is really because presumably you hadn't suffered with that kind of acid reflux before,
Well, I had
did
it
you say?
last year, 2020, but it went away. So I just thought, oh,
And do they think that you had it then as well?
they don't know. I did have a
Mm,
scan then because I also had some blood tests at that point, and one of my liver or a couple of my liver enzymes were a bit out of whack.
mm,
So they did give me a scan, but nothing appeared then.
right,
Um,
okay.
but whether it was too small at that point, the tumour was too little, maybe.
So once
I
you
don't
were
know.
told, Helen, that it was pancreatic cancer, that what happened? What was your treatment?
Well, they didn't actually know until they did the operation that it was cancer. Because what happened was the consultant surgeon I saw, Mr. Adupa in Oxford, he thought it was they call it an IMPN, I think it is, so a cyst. He thought it was a pancreatic cyst.
Mm,
But he said that while they were operating, they would try and put a camera down the pancreatic duct to see whether the cancer, or whether
yeah.
anything had spread, or whether the growth had gone into anywhere else. Um, And because he couldn't get the camera down this little duct, they decided they were just going to take the whole pancreas away. So went to the path lab, and it wasn't until 3 weeks after the operation that they said actually it was cancerous. So
Oh, right.
I didn't have any biopsies or anything like that. But when I had a PET scan actually before the surgery, sorry, actually, and that did show cancer markers, and there were cancer markers in my blood tests as well,
Right.
but they weren't completely certain until
Yeah.
they did the pathology report.
So,
So
so they did the surgery. Did you have to have chemo or radio or anything?
not beforehand, no, no.
Right.
Literally, I went to see the consultant surgeon on Friday. Was it the 1st of July? I think it was. Went for the PET scan the Saturday morning, and then I was in surgery the following Tuesday. So
Wow.
literally
Gosh, that's
within,
quick.
yeah, literally within the space of seeing the consultant at Swindon General Hospital, Great Western Hospital in Swindon on the 20th of June, I was then in surgery on the 6th of July. So I was really fast tracked, but that was
Mm,
mainly because I'm quite fit. I mean, I'm not marathon running fit or anything like that, but I can walk a distance, and
yeah.
on I do eat healthily on the whole, with a few lapses here and there. And because my BMI wasn't high, the surgeon said, we can operate straight away with a view to,
Right.
if it is cancer, to having chemo following the surgery at some point. So I actually started chemo in September,
Yeah.
and I'm about to start the 4th round tomorrow for 3 weeks. So 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off. That's
Right. And
that's
how are you finding it? How are the cycles? Is it
they,
horrible?
yeah. Well, actually, do you know what? It's not as awful as I thought it would be, but I think
Mm.
I've kind of tried to keep an open mindset with it, because people have said to me, "Oh, I can tell you about my friend's cancer chemo treatment if you like," and I'm like, "Thanks. I know it's well intentioned, but actually everyone's experience with chemo is different, isn't it? So
So different. And
so
you're so
different."
right to say that and to feel like that, because I feel everybody that I speak to, everybody responds differently, and also some chemos are much harsher than others. And actually, it's not a competition, is it? It's
No.
more, it's just like it's survival, isn't it? At the end of the
Yeah.
day, you just want to get on and get through it, and not find yourself comparing. I did find myself comparing a bit, like, why am I really suffering? Day
Yeah.
three, and the next person isn't. Um,
It just affects people so differently, doesn't
it
it?
does.
And the last thing I wanted to get into was a top trumps kind of medical
Yeah,
thing with people, because there are some people that will kind of have everything worse than you have it even. But
yeah.
I just kind of think, no, I just want to crack on, do the chemo, get it out of the way, and then plan to sort of get back into some sort of normal life.
Normal. And are you
February.
working?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate that I've been working from home since March 2020.
Yeah.
And my employer, they've been so brilliant. They've really, really supported. They've got some really great policies for people that need support and treatment through cancer. And I couldn't fault.
Really? What,
Yeah,
they actively have that in place already? That's
yeah,
amazing.
I know. It's incredible. I'm so, so lucky. I work for Nationwide Building Society, and
Yeah.
funnily enough, in their IT department. So
Yeah.
funny that I couldn't manage to join this call earlier, but no, they are absolutely incredible. And I was really worried because I hadn't been a permanent member of staff for very long either. So I was
Oh,
thinking,
wow.
how's this going to work? But
Yeah.
they've been fabulous. So long story short, I'm back working now, but on a kind of phased return to work
That's good.
at the moment. So
And
they
you're feeling like you're managing it all right, and your fatigue levels are okay, and
yeah, they're fine actually. Funnily, well, weirdly enough, when I started the chemo, they were giving me dexamethasone, which is a anti-sickness drug.
hmm
So I was having it intravenously, and after having it then I had the chemo. So on the sort of the Tuesday night, I would be really, really tired, but I couldn't
mm.
sleep because I had these steroids pumping through my
Yeah.
body.
Yeah,
So,
been there too.
and it's like, and also I'm a diabetic now because I don't have a pancreas. Also, it's
Right.
pushing my blood sugar levels up as well. So, but I was finding sort of Tuesday night, Wednesday, although I was really tired, I was kind of you know, wanting to do housework and buzzing about. Then Thursday and Friday, my energy levels would really drop and I'd be
Yeah.
really, really tired.
Yeah.
But they've stopped giving that to me now.
Yeah.
So I just have
It's really,
something
it's quite
else.
unpredictable, isn't it? And I think that's brilliant that you've got such a supportive employer, really,
Mm.
because I normally hear horror stories about people, you know, really stressed about going back to work or being expected to come back full time, and it's part of the whole process, isn't it? It's hard getting
It's
back
really
on your
hard.
feet after a diagnosis like that.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's really hard. I mean,
Mm,
they've put me back on some project work, which I wasn't expecting. I thought I might do kind of some discrete work, which wouldn't
mm,
have any kind of stringent deadlines or anything. But yeah, I mean, I think I have just been so lucky with all of this, really, in lots
yeah.
of ways. In that, you know, they've, even if I kind of think, well, this bit of work is going to take me a bit longer than it normally
Mm,
would, they've been okay about it. But I do really feel for people that have whose employers aren't as kind of forward thinking and supportive as
mm,
mine, because it must be,
mm,
you know, it's awful having
yeah.
the worry of cancer with one thing,
Mm.
let alone worrying about money and
Oh my
employment.
God.
And
Yeah, all of that. And I know that pancreatic cancer charity UK have been supportive as well, haven't they?
yeah, they've been great, actually. Yeah, I've been doing some sort of fundraising during this month because it's Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month. And they've been really helpful in sort of sending me free T-shirts and stickers and things like that. So, and
Yeah.
you know, posting stuff on Facebook. There's quite a lot of people raising money and awareness, but it, you know, when
It's
you
really
read
good
about,
because I feel like there's not enough voices out there for pancreatic cancer, is there? There's obviously a lot of breast and a lot of the other cancers, but pancreatic, I just feel like it's the voice that you don't hear from. So
yeah,
I bet they'll be knocking on your door quite a bit to say, come on.
yeah, I hope so, because even if,
Yeah.
you know, this, what, you know, the money I've raised, even if it just helps one more person have
Yeah.
a better outcome from their diagnosis, then it'll all be worthwhile. Because you know, you really read some awful stories of people.
Yeah, you do.
You really
And
do, and it's heartbreaking.
it is. And you're living proof, actually, that if we can raise, you know, as much awareness as possible, these
Mm.
things, if they're caught early,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
can be treatable.
yeah,
So
exactly.
it gives hope, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, when you think about it, we're saying something like breast cancer or even prostate cancer, you know, 30, 40 years ago, you wouldn't want to talk about the C word, would you? You know,
Mm-mm.
and now it's, you know,
You're right.
it's not everywhere. I think in the best possible way, it's kind of the awareness of that has been raised so much, hasn't it? Which
Yeah,
is
it
which is
has. And
fantastic.
yeah, definitely is part of the conversation now, isn't it? So I
Yeah,
think,
it
yeah,
is.
it's
It's
really
kind
good.
of taken the mystique out of it, I
Yeah.
think. And I think with pancreatic cancer, I think we need to do the same thing, because a lot of my friends, they've all said, well, you know, what's a pancreas? What does it do then? And, you know, I was a bit ignorant about actually the function that the pancreas does for your body.
Mm,
Uh, so it is about education and awareness,
mm.
and also not confusing it like one of my friends did with prostate cancer. I'm like,
It's
I'm
very
a
different.
woman. Very different, yeah. Still, he knows now.
I didn't even know that you could survive without a pancreas. I thought that
Yeah,
was,
yeah, that's why I'm a diabetic. So the pancreas produces insulin, and it also it produces enzymes, so which breaks down your food when you're digesting it.
yeah.
So I have to inject myself with insulin 3 times a day, and I also take these pancreatic enzyme replacement pills as well. So every time
Yeah.
I eat something or have a milky coffee, I have to chug a few of these pills.
Oh
But
God.
it's kind of part of the it's weird, actually, because when I was in hospital and they were teaching me how to inject the insulin and all, I was thinking, oh my God, I'm never going to cope with this. And with
Yeah.
the Creon tablets that I take, but actually that's kind of become secondary now to the chemo stuff.
Yeah.
So
I
it's just
suppose
like,
you just get used to doing it, don't you? I guess.
yeah, you just got to get on with it, really.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
is a bit of a weird one, trying to balance how much insulin to give yourself versus how many carbs you're eating, and then how many Creon tablets to take to make sure that your
Oh
your
my
digestive
God.
system's going to work. So yeah. Trial and error.
And trying to figure all that out when you've got chemo fog, it must be impossible.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So I've written myself a little chart actually, which I've got pinned on the
Yeah, that's a
fridge.
good
You know,
idea.
remember to take this, and I've got one of these little pill things for my chemo, just to make
Yeah,
sure that I do take the tablets and I don't forget. Because sometimes you think,
yeah,
have I given myself
yeah.
some insulin? Have I done this? Have I done that? But yeah,
Oh, well, listen, Helen, it's so good to hear a positive story when it comes to pancreatic cancer. And as you said, it is Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month.
it
And if
is.
anybody wants to see any of the fundraising that Helen's doing, how can they find out about it?
If you go to the Pancreatic Cancer UK website and have a look, I think on the fundraising, or you could probably search Pancreatic Cancer UK Helen French, and then you'll see it there. Or
Brilliant.
follow me on Insta, and I'll bung the links in a chat to you.
Yeah.
That might work, wouldn't it?
Well, listen, thank you so much for your time. I won't take up any more of your time, and thank you everyone for bearing with us. It took us a little while
Sorry
to
about
get
that.
off the ground there, but we did it in the end.
Yeah, we
I
did it.
really appreciate it, and thank you so much for sharing your story, as always. And thank you everybody for joining us and for sending your lovely comments. There's somebody there just saying you're an inspiration,
Oh, thank you.
which you are. It's so good to hear such
Oh,
positive stories.
yeah, it is
All
that they're
right.
rare, and I'm really pleased that you invited me, Helen. So thank you very
Oh,
much.
thank you. We'll keep in touch, won't you? All the best.
Yeah,
Have a lovely
definitely.
evening. All
Yes,
right.
and
Bye,
you. Take care. Bye,
everyone. See you
everyone.
later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.